Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues. Our guest this morning is the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport, Kipchumba Murkomen, and he's here. We've started off on that note of saying, let's tell each other the truth. And we hope that throughout this conversation, it will be a truth-speaking moment. You said at the point when you became the Cabinet Secretary, you found a portfolio of projects on infrastructure that was to the tune of 900 billion shillings. Roads only.
Yeah.
And those that had already started somehow, 700 billion shillings worth that have already been contracted out. 700 billion shillings at various stages. How did you decide to come to the 150 or so billion?
Maybe I didn't explain myself well.
Please do.
The 700, if you had money today, full amount of money, and you did the roads to completion, you would need 700 billion to complete it. Yeah, to complete it within the completion period, maybe 3 years or so.
Okay.
The worth of the total contract is 700 billion.
Okay.
That includes the contracts themselves and also includes the payment for land acquisition, so that you can access. But the ones that the contractor has already worked and gave certificates, which is now famously known as the pending bills, is the 150.
So
where someone is already submitting a certificate to the roads agency and waiting to be paid.
So work's done.
Yes.
To various stages of completion.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
It was 150 at that point.
150 billion shillings.
Yes.
Covering how many kilometers?
For work they have already done from the 150. It was 10. You remember it was 10,000. Kilometer road network. Some were completed, so maybe for the work done, maybe 2,000-3,000 kilometers.
Okay.
Or thereabout. I actually wonder why I didn't pick their statistics for that, for only the work done.
Okay.
Because some of it, this is the interesting part. Some of it is that the contractor has completely finished the road and handed over, but they have not been paid. They're still being owed a colossal amount of money. So it is in various stages, and I think we can work out those statistics as how many kilometers are complete and not paid, or to what percentage has been paid of the complete road. That's a statistic we can work out.
Is there an explanation why they had not been paid?
That is?
Why they had not been paid?
Explanation? Yeah. No budget. What happened, when we came to office in 2013, let me now where my
let's start from Jubilee administration.
Exactly. Yes. When the Jubilee administration came to office, they established an ambitious program called Road 10,000, which was to tarmac roads across the country, 10,000 kilometers. Various programs were put in place. One of them was called Low Volume Seal Road Program, whose objective was to construct roads of a less volume in terms of sealing on top of it, because they are in rural areas with low traffic. It was expected that these roads, therefore, later would be given maintenance money that will make sure that the roads have been maintained. That's another problem we can discuss later. Those roads have not been maintained, and they are now destroyed. In fact, going back to almost zero, yet the contract itself has not ended, or the contract has not been paid. In this ambitious program, that time we were accessing fairly reasonable financing for major projects from our development partners. We did that access to certain level, and then suddenly in around 2016, 2017, it froze.
It all dried up.
So money now
because we became a middle income.
Yes, exactly. So now money had to move to other important sectors, and of course the always competing interests of the country. When that happened, the appetite for completing the roads was still there. The demand now, Kenyans were now seeing the importance of having a tarmacked road. So your neighbor has a road, the next place is. There is an election that was coming 2017. Of course, political players and the government at that point, now you commit even further.
Yep.
And then all the time you commit, remember the procurement law says, do not procure for a project that does not have funding. But then you succeed in getting the seed money for all these projects in Parliament for 1 year, the beginning, and then the subsequent year, no follow-up to put more money to continue. So you keep starting a new project with seed money and continue. Start a new project with seed money, stalls, But because you have a political interest today, it has changed. You have gone to another corner. They have asked for a road. You start another one there, and it stalls. That was actually part of the mismanagement that has led to this number
So
of
this is
kilometers
all
of road.
deceit that started in 2013
Let me say,
with the Jubilee administration.
no, I will not say,
And the appetite for showing that you're doing a lot.
and the demand also from the public.
There's a demand from and expectation from
Yes,
the public.
but the lack of courage to
And
say
the
no, it's not
deception
possible.
of not saying that
Yeah.
this is what we can do.
Yeah.
But also using that as well
Yeah.
as, we are doing 10,000 kilometers of
Yeah.
road and
Yeah.
we are doing all these infrastructure projects
Yeah.
to justify why you're going to the market to borrow money.
Well, yes, if you
Politically speaking.
yes, no, that's the point.
This is what was happening.
Absolutely.
The
No,
justification
not just, and by the way, I don't want to impute improper motive on those who are leading the country then at the critical sector of the executive and the ministry and so forth. They could have actually believed that the economy will be better tomorrow, it will continue growing at the rate that was growing, and they could have believed that the revenues that we raise next year will continue sorting out the infrastructure. So there is no saying. No, I'm just saying I cannot say for certain.
You cannot.
That I cannot say for certain that somebody sat somewhere and said, let's deceive these people and cross.
You
cross
were
the
in
road.
Parliament.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Yes, you were not in the National Assembly. You're
Yes.
not assigning
Yes.
budgets.
Yeah.
But you were in Parliament and you're seeing the budget and you are seeing the revenues and all the reports from KRA, from the Auditor General,
Yeah.
from the Controller of Budget. You could see that clearly this, whatever dream they have
Yeah.
at Transcom,
Yes.
this does not go with the dream.
I actually believed that we were going to achieve it.
You believed as well.
I believed as well
that you
it
could
was
start this
possible,
project
that it was
with the
possible.
seed money and
No, I
you'll be able
believed
to raise
then
money.
because it's very wrong to run away from responsibility. I believed then, as part of the leadership of Jubilee that time, as a senator for Jubilee, and holding also some positions of leadership within Jubilee in the Senate, that we were actually on course to achieving this objective. And I think that I suspect that had we stuck only to 10,000 kilometers without also putting other mega projects on top of it, perhaps were going to be able to complete it.
Let me ask the question.
Please ask. I'll come back with that other part of the question.
One of the things that one understands about governments
Yeah,
is that they plan,
absolutely.
they project,
Yes.
then they budget.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all these things are rigorous exercises that do not take a day.
Mm-hmm.
And the planning for a 10,000 kilometer road cannot be a year's project, 2 years, 5. You are planning to the future. Now, it cannot be then that as you're planning for the road, which is part of infrastructure, and what you're supposed to do, that you had not, as you correctly put it, foreseen that the economy would grow. Okay? There's this little matter. Of the monies that we spent on our road, we just talk about roads here, infrastructure, that particular time.
Yeah.
Is that money commensurate from the Jubilee government with the roads that were actually built and the extent to which they were completed?
I believe that, yes, largely, yes. If you look at largely, that's what I'm saying, largely, because, these roads are also audited. Yeah, they are audited by the Auditor General. And annually, we get reports. They're not just audited by Auditor General, but they are also resident engineers, and the responsibility of the agencies to ensure that it's built to the standard. But you will find also some others which are not. And in those cases, we have cases with the contractor. We don't want to pay them because we have a case with them. And of course, you may never, in the fullness of time, you may establish that one or two also roads we paid more than the value of the infrastructure that came in. But at the moment, I don't have one in mind where I can say we paid this man to the full, but the work was shoddy. One road, I don't want to mention which one for now because we solved the problem. The contractor, when we arrived at the office, had said he has finished the work. Okay? But the resident engineer, a gentleman I have commended him publicly in the past, stood his ground and said, this contractor cannot be paid because this road is not done to the standards that is required. And when we came back to office and looked at it, we told the contractor to redo the entire 200 kilometers of the road, and it's ongoing. So there are cases like those ones where quality is required, but it requires vigilance on the part of those who oversight this responsibility, but also those of us who manage from the agencies that are within the ministry.
See, what I'm talking about
Yeah.
is something perhaps a little more technical and a little more easy to define. Now, you're a lawyer by training,
Yeah.
but you have people who crunch these numbers.
Yes.
We know the roads that were supposed to be built by name,
Yes.
by distance,
Yes.
and even by type.
Yeah.
This sort of road was supposed to put this sort of tarmac, this sort of aggregate, whatever it is.
Yes.
My question was, we know the sum total that we've spent so far
Is
on
this
these
much?
roads.
Yes.
Precisely.
Yes.
And my question was, when you look at what a road or the roads and the nature of the roads and what they should cost,
Yeah.
I'm asking the question, did we get value for money? For the monies we
I
spent
think
on
I answered
roads?
that question, that since it is not, it is many roads, many contracts, you get largely that we got value for money, or we are getting value for money. Where we don't get value for money, there are two ways of auditing that. Internally, by the management itself, resident engineer, the director generals, and the ministry itself. And also we have government delivery units also here that is tracking what the government is delivering and so forth. But from an oversight side, you also have parliament and you have the auditor general. Auditor general does the audit, parliament interrogates these audits and can be able to tell us, was there value for money achieved? And as I said, admittedly, in most of the cases we have it, but a few cases where I can point out where you do not have value for money, in that case, we have interventions that come in as a result of the oversight responsibilities. But there are cases where if both of us now fail to do so, we also have the public.
Who has the largest responsibility for oversight?
The largest responsibility of oversight is Parliament. It's constitutional.
If it's Parliament,
Yeah.
then what you say cannot possibly be true. Because if there's one thing this Parliament has shown repeatedly, the oversight role was abrogated a very long time ago.
By the way, let me tell you something. When people see Parliament and parliamentarians sitting with the president and having PG meetings and passing policies of government, finance bills, and that, they are under this very misguided impression that they are soft. The hardest place for me to appear is Parliament. I'm going to Parliament after here. It usually is the most difficult place and the best place for accountability. I can say that again and again. The open public conversation about performance of every other project puts each one of us on notice to make sure that we do what we need to do. And Parliament doesn't function as a whole chamber. You have the Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investment Committee in the National Assembly. You have County Public Accounts Committee in the Senate, among others. It is during these committee sessions that we are taken to task. Kenya also, the parliamentarians also know that if they were going to let certain questions slip, the member of public, the auditor general, among others. And remember that Parliament doesn't just oversight. They oversight using research information from the auditor general. So usually the accounts meetings are actually based on the reports tabled by the auditor general. And the auditor general tables reports in every department of government. Maybe I just enter here to say something about why the president said that we need to audit our public debt. Most of the borrowing that was done was to certain infrastructure, and to a good extent, by the way, speaks to your question. There is a general feeling in the public that, and it was there even when we campaigned, there was a general feeling that there is exaggerated prices of infrastructure projects, and these exaggerated prices are accompanied by, major borrowing. So that then the debt, and Eric had mentioned earlier when he alluded to the trillions of money that we are supposed to pay in debt based on borrowing on infrastructure, exactly your question. Kenyans want a confirmation that the public debt register corresponds to the projects on the ground. Yep. And I had this when our president as a member now of the Law Society of Kenya, when our president rejected to participate in that session,
force.
I just thought she should have taken us a little more time. This is something which, if the public understand, it is not audit for the audit. It's not that audit of Auditor General's report. There are Auditor General reports every year, but those Auditor General reports still has even more questions being asked by the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya, at this point in time, are saying, can we for once now, transparently, very few Kenyans even know the Auditor General report on the debt last year or the other year, but can we, in an open and transparent manner, do one-off audit that doesn't take away the Auditor General's responsibility, but can we do one-off audit of where we are at the moment on our debt and look at the projects, corresponding projects? You may not go to a project, you may not bother, even that committee may not bother to ask a project borrowed for 10 million, for 100 million. We may as well even have a category and tell ourselves, if you've borrowed for 5, 10 billion, some of them 50, 100, you've borrowed for major infrastructure, can we just find out whether the auditing of that infrastructure, the value of that infrastructure corresponds with the debt that we have? And I think I still want to implore my president of the LSK to reconsider our position, and they should give us the benefit to do it openly and publicly where we are as a country at the moment, without fear or favor.
Probably the conversation should just be extended into how else would they propose, how else would this audit happen. But then just going back into that.
I think the word audit, the use of the word audit, which is an English word, was should have been, now speaking to my president as a lawyer, should have been interpreted as the Constitution says, purposively. Purposively in the sense that to capture the objective of the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question is, do you feel that with the kind of infrastructure portfolio that you inherited, the kind of work that's been done, what is pending as pending bills to contractors at various stages of completion of road projects, and then looking at the other infrastructure projects, do you feel that what we are paying as debt is actually commensurate with what has been done?
I would not want to bring my feelings to this subject because it has to be factual. Tomorrow, if I put my feelings on to this, because it's not just tomorrow, I'll be held to account for the same. You will call me again next year and say your feelings were wrong. I really think, and I
so let me
with all due respect,
let me rephrase the question.
It will require a proper audit for me to form an opinion.
Let me rephrase the question.
Yeah.
In the last 9 years, has the Ministry of Transport ever gotten sufficient funding to do the projects that it was doing in any financial year?
No. The ministry, especially the Department of the Roads, it has never got amount of money commensurate to the projects that have been not. If you say projects it wants to do, of course a country has a million things they want to do. But if you say for the projects that has committed itself to do, we have been unable to meet that for the last 9 years.
So year on year, there's what is committed
deficit,
on the ground.
Yes.
There's what is requested for in budget.
Yeah.
There's what's allocated in the budget.
And there's
what
is
then disbursed.
Yes.
And every year you've been running on a shortfall.
Absolutely.
Which means that you're compounding the shortfall going into the next year.
Yes.
Into the next year.
Yes.
Into the next year.
Yes.
Is this prudent management?
I think we dropped the ball somewhere. Yeah.
How far back?
Maybe those 9 years. Yeah. We should have just moved. If we had moved progressively, Kenyans would have understood. Yeah. But once we moved rapidly, they believed that we have the resources to, and we committed ourselves across the country, they believed we have the resources to do so. That is why,
so is it
if
prudent
you look
now,
at the manifesto,
is it prudent now to continue doing road projects when you are looking at raising 70 billion shillings in a budget and you end up only getting 26 billion shillings? Is it prudent?
I'm coming to that. So that's why the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza, in black and white, says that we shall not commit new projects. We will only do projects that have, we will only work towards completing the existing projects. Unfortunately, Eric, we are between the rock and a hard place. Yeah,
we're at a cliff.
Literally. And the point is this:
it's either we jump or we stay here.
Yeah, this is the point. You cancel the contracts. If you were to say, okay, we are unable to pay it, we want to cancel. You can easily pay half of the 700 billion to a contractor. By the way, the 700 billion, because of the 2 financial years, has now come to about 650. Yeah, so you pay the contractor that money. Yeah, and for doing nothing. You are now in a damn if you do, damn if you don't. So you rather do it anyway because you have already made a commitment. Cancelling it, you first lose the 165 billion. It becomes a debt that must be paid. And then now you start having conflict around it. So you might pay about 200-300 billion without a road. So the wisest thing to do at the moment is to pause, as we agreed in the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. And that has been the case. We never started new projects. By the way, only new projects that we are starting since I came to office are either projects that we have got support of development partners, where you have concessional funding and you are being supported by development partners, or projects that are related to maintenance or in a different sector where the resources have been raised. We can never do any new road for the next 3 to 4 years. Because of the situation.
Let's do the news.
Yeah.
It's 8 a.m.
That as much as the national government claims it doesn't have enough money to employ intern doctors, there's still a shortage that needs to be addressed. Nikal says that instead of the government focusing on the available
Nivea Pearl and Beauty Deodorant with natural pearl extracts and avocado oils for soft, smooth and beautiful underarms. The perfect balance of 48-hour protection and care with delicate fragrances. Feel the power of pearls. Nivea Pearl and Beauty for soft, smooth, and beautiful underarms. Try our new Pearl and Beauty Black Pearl for smooth and perfumed underarms.
Go TV, and right here is where you can catch the brilliance of Mbappe, the scoring power of Kane, Ronaldo's, and all of the greats fighting for the glory to be crowned the kings of Europe. Don't miss the unbeatable action of all 51 games of Europe's biggest football event live on SuperSport on GoTV and GoTV Stream. The Euro 2024 live. That's GoTV for you. Love it.
Joro, Barugo go bank.
Yes. Nakam 2 minutes, sawa. Sasa mbona make request alafu narudi na zima simu?
Can I send you to my mom? Yeah, ako Dubai.
Stacy.
Umesikia niko na haraka?
Ndakupatia 1 star. 1 star.
500.
Pesa ni mambo ya dunia. Nimekulipa na baraka.
Ati wewe alipa gani?
I'm not paying you nothing.
Ngoja. Wewe. Ngoja.
Ndio nabeba watu wa ina gadi hawa.
You're the universe and I was.
The person that you decide to spend your life with is one of the most important decisions you're going to make in life.
Do anything.
Atungedhani ati tutakuja kuona. We are just friends.
By the way, alikuwa anaitwa teacher.
I married a unicorn. I am treated like a princess, everything I expected.
I used to tell her I need 4 kids.
Those 4 kids are there. Already, we have 4 boys.
Yes, we have 4 boys.
This week on Manspective Africa.
When the government does what's supposed to do, we look at it like a privilege. Oh, thank you so much. You took my child to the hospital. Oh, that governor is the best. But he's supposed to be building hospitals and making them functional.
In today's society, in all honesty, women don't feel necessarily safe.
Sometimes it's better to separate from your partner if it's too toxic, and actually that's beneficial to the children. But when you average out the scores, it is better for children to be raised by a father and a mother. Men are different from women, and that's a problem and an opportunity, because you don't want men who are like women. I don't think even women want that.
Only on KTN Home.
A brand new season of The Art of Living is here. You will not believe whom we have in store for you this season.
I usually buy during a sale, but I'm also a very hard negotiator.
The homes are nothing short of magnificent, exquisite, and unique.
I think it just brings out that girlish era that I am in.
This season, the bar is raised.
Once I started floral, it just seemed to be themed all over.
Take a vicarious journey with me and let's discover, explore, and engage.
This week on Manspective Africa.
When the government does what's supposed to do, we look at it like a privilege. Oh, thank you so much. You took my child to the hospital. Oh, that governor is the best. But he's supposed to be building hospitals and making them functional.
In today's society, in all honesty, women don't feel necessarily safe.
Sometimes it's better to separate from your partner if it's too toxic, and actually that's beneficial to the children. But when you average out the scores, it is better for children to be raised by a father and a mother. Men are different from women, and that's a problem and an opportunity, because you don't want men who are like women. I don't think even women want that.
Only on KTN Home.
Ethan! Mommy! Mommy! Ethan!
From the depths of heartache to the heights of happiness, lives intertwine in ways you never imagined.
That's how I look at it, being the mother of Jaime's children.
Secrets are revealed, alliances are tested.
It was your husband who killed my daughter!
Mommy! Mommy!
And true love faces its biggest challenges.
You know what? This is your fault. I warned you.
Love, betrayal, and endless suspense thrive in the world of soap operas at KTN Home. Tune in.
I saw the killer bride.
You mean the ghost?
If you'd like to watch the second semi-final of the Euro 2024, it's tonight. England versus the Netherlands.
Versus the Netherlands.
My team lost.
Unfortunately, Africa's team lost.
Yeah.
Africa United lost last night to Spain.
Yes.
Okay. So tonight,
you still have an opportunity to see what's happening with the Euros in the semi-finals, and you can log on to www.showmax.com to figure out how to do that. Log on, and you can also download the app on the Google Play Store, Apple App Store. 500 shillings lets you watch the matches live in HD, and you don't have to worry about, these things like, are we going to be able to watch the final because of whatever? No. You register, you pay, you watch from wherever you are. You don't have to worry about that. That another great entertainment on Showmax. Shika Showmax.
Kabisa. And if you're thinking, you need to visit a health facility wherever you are, and you're thinking, maybe I want to go to Aga Khan, but Aga Khan, Limuru Road, maybe busy, maybe tight, I may not get parking. Yeah, you can just go to Roy Sambu. There is the specialty care center at Roy Sambu. What building is it?
Jewel Plaza.
Jewel Plaza.
Yes.
Jiwe or Jewel?
Jewel, like jewel, gems, diamonds, things like that.
Eric, stop your...
CS would understand.
Why are you looking at me? You're saying jewel and then you look at me.
CS understands what jewels are. Okay. Diamonds and the like.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not even saying about the issue, reference to me. It's the pronunciation that...
Jiwe or Jewel.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Eric is looking at me and saying jewel.
So what are we saying here? Jewel Plaza is where you find Aga Khan's most recent established specialty care center.
Yep.
And you can get basically everything that you would look for if you had to travel far to get it.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you shouldn't have to travel from too far from where you live or from where you work to access medical care. From oncologists to gastroenterologists, surgeons, across board, folks who are going to help out when we're looking for services such as chemotherapy, dialysis, surgery itself through the day, as though you went far. And it can be bought right where you are, because universal health should be here and now.
Kabisa. And it's one of the 700 facilities that will accept your Jubilee Health Insurance card. To get a Jubilee Health Insurance card so you can access all these services, choose the package that suits you, whether you're thinking local, international, you're thinking individual, family, or even group chamas. Just talk to Jubilee Health Insurance, www.jubileeinsurance.com, or you can call them. CT, what's the number? 07?
09 949 000.
That's it. That's it. 0709 949 000.
Yes.
Okay. Jubilee Health Insurance. Remind us today's proverb, City.
Yes, our proverbs for this week are from the island republic of Sao Tome Principe. Misfortune comes on horseback, but departs on foot.
Misfortune comes on horseback, but departs on foot.
Yes.
Okay. Waziri Kipchumba Murkomen is still here, the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport. Spent a better part of the past hour just looking at the progress of transport road projects across the country. Many people go to any part of the country, they'll ask you, what happened to this road?
Yeah.
What happened to this road? Ask him about, those are many questions that are coming up, asking about this road, the other road.
Yeah.
And he said, today you're going to tell us the truth.
Absolutely.
And the truth is
nothing
that
but
we
the truth.
basically cannot.
We cannot, I'm just saying, I am not saying we will not do it. I have just said this is the state of the infrastructure, of the roads. So far, we have a pending bill of 165 billion shillings. So far, we have a budget of about 50 billion shillings. Last year, we did not manage to get disbursement for our budget. Therefore, most of the roads did not progress the way we wanted. We had a plan with the finance bill to make sure that we get 100 billion from these resources to see if we can bridge the gap, because we had agreed that we negotiate with our contractors to see if when we pay certain amount of money, they can make another milestones of even 50 billion, then we pay in the subsequent financial year. The good news also I need to report is that in the first 2 years, the president asks me to have an engagement with our development partners, particularly from China, who are some of the contractors are Chinese contractors in our roads, and see if they can give us concessional financing support to take care of the portfolio that is being constructed using Chinese contractors. Our efforts in those 2 years are borne fruits, and we got about 37 billion shillings for about 15 roads. For those 15 roads, the disbursements will happen about in the next 2 months. So they have given us up to the end of next month. So if they take over the 15 roads, they will now move seamlessly for the next 3 years, and we will complete those roads. We then take over the remaining balance of those roads and see what we can do. We are having also a conversation with our different development partners that we have and bilateral relationships with our countries. This progress, notwithstanding the setback we got to the finance bill, I want to tell Kenyans that not all is lost. And I just want to say this. It may sound cliche of some sort, but now in the country, His Excellency the President is on top of this subject, especially in his bilateral engagements with our partners outside the country. And this is a subject that is dear in his heart. And we have given ourselves timelines that hopefully by the end of this year, we should be able to report progress on the promises that are given. I don't want to say them here because it is consultations ongoing, and see if those promises given by our development partners can help us bridge the gap. I also want to tell the country that the failure to have progressed these roads does not mean that it is 100% failure. In some cases, we have paid contractors using the little money in some roads, and then they construct others. In those 2 years also, we have had projects that are supported by our development partners that are ongoing, that are funding. Some of which, like Kwanjom from Mariakani from Mombasa, Tuapa to Kilifi, for example. The road from Isiolo, Modokashe is already going on, and the contractor is making good progress. I had even personal negotiations with one of the contractors, and we moved the road from Thika Magumu, and is making some good progress. I went to Sindo, and we talked to the contractor in Homa Bay, and we made very good progress in terms of some of those roads. So I have had to convert my legal expertise to help in negotiating with contractors to see if we can be making progress as a country. I just want also to confirm that unique things are happening. We re-looked at the road from Lamu to Ijara, which is 250 kilometers. Initially was supposed to be a Maram road. We told the contractor for the amount of money given to him, to them to construct the road, they must deliver a tarmac road. Good news is that progress is going on, and by February next year, the road will have reached Ijara with a good road for us to open up the Lapset project, and the road from also Garissa to Isiolo is also ongoing.
If I just want to ask you something, because we can. I think we can go.
I just want to finish only this one.
Is this one more road?
Yeah, one more road, and then you can ask me. This road, we shall be the administration. Having sat down and negotiated with our development partners of stalled road that was opening northern part of the country, we shall be the administration in the next 3 years that will deliver the connection between Isiolo to Mandera for the first time. We will bring in 750 kilometers of tarmac road that will connect the northern counties and open us to our border 001 in Mandera, and it will open up areas that were either referred to low potential areas.
You said by when? This is by when now?
In the next 3 years. The contractor, as I said, the contractor is already on site, and we are negotiating only the remaining few parts in between. We should do that 3 to 4 years latest. By 2028, we should have. You should drive to Mandera.
I do want to ask you a question, but I just want to preface it by asking a simple question.
Yeah.
There's a Angong Kimuga Road, just 2 kilometers, not far from Nairobi.
Yes.
That thing has not been completed for the very longest time. You're telling us that such a road.
Isn't Gong Suswa?
Yes, Kimuga.
Yes,
2
Gong
kilometers.
Suswa.
Yes. If that hasn't been completed, you're telling us you now want to complete a 750 kilometer road, and this one, just around the corner here, is a problem. And it has been there for 2 kilometers. It's been there for a very long time.
So as he's prefaced that, let's go into some of these other issues. And I think that's a great way to start.
Yeah.
Because then a lot of what you've mentioned here then falls under the ambit of the Highway Authority, which obviously is under you, right?
Absolutely.
So we're talking about Kenha.
Yes,
and so they're dealing with those connectivity.
And some are Kera.
Right, some are Kera.
Kenha, yeah.
Now, when we look at the roads that people, Kenyans, everyday usage, not necessarily going from Nairobi to Mandera, for example, which I think is highly important when it comes to the development agenda. But when we're looking at things that are happening here, how does that work exactly? Because, of course, the roads board is there. The authorities which deal with rural roads, which deal with urban roads, then handle a lot of those matters. Now, why are these projects not completed, or why are they not even started on? I'll give you a typical example. One road just east of us, which was done last year, today is dilapidated. A year has not even concluded. Is it the same reasoning that we would give that folks have to use lower grade material because there's not enough money? And so what we see, it's actually the border road of the international airport, which is a great security risk, by the way. So we have a road that was done. It's called Airport Road.
Yes.
Just here.
Yes.
It was done last year. It was completed in December last year. But today, you would not believe that the road was actually done last year. Huge security threat. Again, it borders the airport. Okay? Now, I will have to ask, the contractors who are on ground, how are you able to make sure that things like corruption are not taking place? Because it is unbelievable that a road like that would have been done in the way in which it was supposed to have been done, and then now we're looking at a dilapidated state. I reckon that this is mirrored across the country when we're dealing with Kura roads, when we're dealing with Kera roads. What is happening? Because honestly, Waziri, it is a mess. Do you have a handle on these things?
Thank you. Yes, I do, and it's eventually the governance accountability eventually ends at my desk. Of course, there are many layers of people that are supposed to be accountable. Eventually, it is at my desk. The Suswangong Road has been demanded by so many Kenyans because of the Mai Road and the congestion in Mai. So really, that one has been asked over and over again by...
That's why I'm asking it again.
Senator Olekina, the people of Bomet, Narok.
Yes.
I've always asked that question, and I'm sure it will also feature in Parliament today when I go there. The Suswa Road, at least, first of all, it's part of the pending roads. Okay? So the contractor is owed a lot of money. And I even called him yesterday to talk to him. The good thing is that we negotiated with him. He went on site. And at the moment he has graded the road, at least it's possible. But for him to complete the remaining small sections, about 5 kilometers, he requires certain payment, and he has promised that with the small payment we had given him of the 26 billion I referred to earlier, is going to make fairly good progress. I also want to come to the next question, which is the airport road. The airport road, I will have to check the facts, but I know that maybe the problem is in the maintenance of the road itself. Let me say this, that apart from the whole conversation we had this morning, the first part of this conversation was on construction, development of the road. There is now the road maintenance levy fund and the maintenance of roads across the country. And if you can give me 2 minutes, I'll mention something about the same. That in the maintenance of our roads, the Act, Roads Board Act of 2007 creates 3 agencies that also has responsibility to do maintenance: the Kura, Kera, and Kenya, to maintain their roads as allocated. These roads are supposed to be, at the moment, we used, in the year 2016, we had only about 168,000 kilometers of road network being maintained by these agencies. From 2016, we have increased that number to about 215. Most of these roads being maintained by the agencies are actually growing. The urban roads are growing and the resources are remained stagnant. The road maintenance levy is charged on a percentage, not a percentage, a block figure of the fuel prices at any given year. So it was 18 shillings. It's 18 shillings. But that time it was 18 of 93 shillings. Now we are talking about 18 shillings of about 170 something shillings per litre. Meaning that the resources we get is still very little. It's not enough for us to raise enough. This year we had about 75 billion shillings distributed across the 3 agencies, and it has not been able to cover all the network. Why? Because the first is that Kenya has now had more roads being constructed by development funds. So if you do like a road now, where I was telling you about the northeastern roads, once we complete, you hand over for maintenance. Even though you borrowed a concession or loan to construct, you now hand over for maintenance. Some roads like Isibania Kisii Road, which was under construction period and maintenance after construction by the same funds, has now fallen back to Kenya to maintain it.
How long after construction does maintenance?
It's usually 3. You do 3. The contractor who does the road will do 3 years. And
I'm saying if a road is completed today, Waziri, when does the maintenance of it kick in? Immediately?
The contract. That's what I was explaining to you. That very contractor who constructed has 3 years to maintain after construction. Then he hands over to the agent now to procure a contractor to maintain, and you have to maintain every year. No, it's a continuous process depending on the state of the road, because it is assessed before you allocate the amount of money. Some contracts, especially in Kenya, are called performance-based contracts. So you give a contractor a particular road to maintain for 3 years.
So, Waziri,
and you will be there. If there is a pothole, you must seal. If there is, that is why fairly our Kenya roads are fairly maintained over the years because of this performance-based maintenance.
In your esteemed opinion, there is no reason why a road that has been completed barely 9 months ago should be getting just as it was before construction.
I agree with you. This is first, I was going to come to Kura because as your road falls within the urban road network. So what I need to assess from the airport road is to find out whether the contractor finished the road and has not been paid. Is he on site to do the maintenance, or has it fallen back to Kura to maintain it? And I'll come back to you on that one. But generally, I want to give an answer now generally on the maintenance. Kura now has moved from the previous Kura, which used to be Nairobi and a few cities in the country. There is an appetite and demand across the country with greater urbanization for more resources to maintain roads in urban areas. And as such, the agency is so stretched with little resources. Kera is the most ridiculous part of this conversation. When we worked on the 10,000 kilometer road project in Kenya, we never ever factored in how the money for maintenance is going to happen, because the 22% and 10% allocated to Kera is shared equally to every constituency and largely maintains Maram roads. The tarmacked rural roads have now been christened or dubbed in the ministry orphaned roads. And they have not been maintained over the years. If you go to Mororo Road in Kajiado here, if you go to Boyman in Nyandarua, if you go to the road from Silibwet to Olengurwani, if you go to some of the roads in Meru there, across the country, every part of the nation now has roads that were done under low volume seal. They are finished because there's no maintenance. Zero. What I was trying to do with the road maintenance levy is first, through the legislative process, is to create a fund within Kera, safeguard money, just like it is in the other agencies, of the money that's distributed equally, leave within the agency of Kera some resources for maintenance of the roads. Otherwise, the roads are assets. You will come back here and we say, we spent 11 trillion to do the road, and it is back and it's completely done. When Kenyans tomorrow do the audit, and that's why I say I still insist that this audit of debt vis-a-vis the action on the ground should be done. Kenyans will establish and say it is finished. We will not give an explanation as to why it was not being maintained. It is the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, we had to come up with this idea to say the deficit that we have, we better look for resources by increasing the road maintenance levy, which has never been touched from 2016, by 7 shillings. It will bridge the gap a little bit, because we need now 157 billion annually to maintain the road network that we have as a country, which is about 215,000 kilometers. Yet we can only afford to raise at the moment it's projected for this year about 83 billion. So there's a huge gap of resources that are required for maintaining our roads. And this is, today I said I will come here to speak to the people of Kenya about their resources, their assets, and the challenges we are facing in maintaining them. And I request them that we walk together the journey to make sure that we restore and maintain these roads. And I promise you, for every resource that we have been given for road maintenance levy, we have been extremely careful to push for accountability. We may not have achieved 100%, but we try our best to make sure that this is accountable, and we appreciate the people of Kenya for the feedback we receive on the same.
You know, Waziri, I just come back to how decisions have been made previously and continue to be made in government.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we start with that. So there's an entire, policy of a government and a program to say we are going to do 10,000 kilometers of road, but somebody forgets, once we've done the roads, we need to maintain the roads. There's an entire program to say we are going to do all these roads. Let's begin the roads everywhere we go. We launch a new road project to show that we are working. But nobody actually thinks, how do we cost these roads? How do we raise the money for the roads? How do we sustain a project once it's started to completion? Leads me to ask the question, so were these decisions being made politically, or are they still being made politically? Did the technical teams in the ministry, in the Kenya Roads Board, in the roads agencies, have an input in this?
They did. And if you go and read the reports, you must really defend our technical teams. If you go to the ministry...
So what did they say, for example?
There is no short of reports.
What did they say, for example, on the issue of maintenance of roads?
Yes, especially the ones that are in rural areas that have really been untouched. They had said that government should allocate resources for maintenance of the same through the annual maintenance of budget for maintenance from Parliament. The only problem with that kind of a spirit, of course, the political decision now is made from a level at my stature and Parliament itself.
Yeah.
But the reality on the ground is that once you reach Parliament and you pushed yourself in by faith, okay, that you will raise money, and then you don't achieve that raising money. Remember that budgeting every year moves resources from one priority to another.
Yes.
So you could have the money, but you've moved this year to electricity, for example, or you moved it to water, or you moved it to something else.
So it's political.
There is
the technocrats told you,
yes,
if we were to do this,
that is true.
I imagine the conversation starts with politicians saying we'd like to do 10,000 kilometers.
Absolutely.
Technocrats tell you it's possible,
absolutely,
but this is what needs to happen for it to happen, for it to be possible.
Yeah. The decision is political.
And then the political decision is made that, despite us seeing all the red flags, let's continue with this. Right?
And also,
right now, the decision, how is it being made? Are the technocrats saying, let's stop and do this? Is the politics and the technocrat going the same? Because the Kenyans who are speaking, who are using these roads on a daily basis, are sitting back and wondering, what on earth is happening?
Absolutely.
We have no roads that are completed, roads that were started, no contractors on site. And all this, what's the decision right now?
That is why I already explained to you the decision we've made on the development part. The development part, as I said, we are working towards getting a one-off support from our bilateral relations and see how far we can push to finish the 650 million worth of
Sounds
roads.
to me,
so that one,
you're saying we are still juggling, looking for a solution.
We must juggle
looking for a solution.
That is a fact. Let me come to maintenance.
2 years into an administration, and you know what you're going to be judged on is on the promises that you made and the history that has been there.
I have said this to them.
There are roads that have started, roads that are not completed.
Yeah.
And the political decision that is being made, let's juggle and see if we can, maybe just one of these balls is going to turn up green.
To be frank and honest, is that we made a deliberate decision as government to be patient for 2 years, not to borrow for the roads. Reason being that if you were to go to the market and borrow at that point in time, you are going to worsen the economic situation. So even at the cabinet level, we were requested as a ministry to be patient. Understandably, we inherited a problem that was already there 5, 6, 7 years before us. And to fix the problem, you need money. And for that money to be allocated in the budget lump sum so that you can solve the problem, you needed to solve the economic issue. So we gave ourselves the 2 years. This was the year that we were now to get a lump sum resource and return all the contractors at once to go on site. And because of the failure of the setback of the finance bill, which that gap of 349 billion is going to have an impact on us. That is why the thinking quickly is to say between now and the next 3 months, what other means working together with our development partners and leveraging on the trips the president had made and the good name he has made for us, what support can we get at a concessional rate for us to complete those roads. That we have left for maintenance, for development. On maintenance side, that's why I'm focusing on maintenance side. When I arrived, the first report I was given is to say that the road maintenance levy, which by law and policy was supposed to be increased every year, maybe 50 cent, 1 shilling, 50 cent, 1 shilling, had never been touched since 2016 for the last 8 years now. It was 6 years then. And I was told that the only way you will maintain the roads, and KRB had a clear report that there is no other way than to be able to increase the road maintenance levy. Of course, being the politician I am and being in a serious position, I said, who will make that decision? Who will make that difficult decision in an environment where people are saying don't increase taxes? So last year I said, wait, hold on, let's see how the economy is going to be next year. Remember, last year was so bad that the prices of petroleum were at close to over 207, 210 shillings. So to add another 7 shillings was going to be impossible. This year, because of the stabilization, I thought, let me propose now the increase of this 7 shillings so that we can salvage these roads. And I tell you that there is no shortcut to this issue. We need to find ways of raising the road maintenance levy.
Can I ask
And the people of Kenya in the public participation process said, okay, if you increase the road maintenance levy, you cannot do so because you are going to have a ripple effect on the cost across the spectrum because of the higher cost of living. And I asked myself one question. So people want good roads, like you are holding me into account here. We want good roads. But at the same time, we are not able to support this thing. So we have been left, because the public participation was the day before yesterday, we have been left with, is it yesterday, the day before yesterday? Today, yes, it was Monday. We've now been left with the task of having to go and sit down and ask ourselves, what way will you cut the petroleum cost on other sectors so that you save a certain figure, so that you put the 7 shillings without transferring the cost higher than it is now at the pump. It is the exam that is
in your head.
That is my head. But inevitably we must do, because just to close that point, and I've said this, some of the outrage towards myself and the person of Kipchumba Murkomen is not actually without basis. A lot of it is Kenyans who had expectations in our performance in the Ministry of Roads and Transport, led by myself, that we were going to fix roads when we came to office that had been stalled for 3, 4, 5 years. So their hope was that a new government is coming to place and they will think differently, raise money differently, and sort our problems. So some of that outrage.
So when they see you not thinking differently,
when they see
acting
me
differently,
or raising money somewhere,
but living differently, they get angry.
No, generally they I know you're trying to look for ways of linking it to the watch and the shoe.
The perspective.
But yeah, I'm saying
the perspective here is that the job that they expect you to do is not getting done.
It's not getting done.
But the job that you're doing on yourself is getting done. That's a perspective.
Absolutely.
And that's why I started by asking that question. Do you understand what the anger from the public is all about?
By the way, I will not sit here and pretend that some of the contributing factors to the outrage towards myself and my office is pending bills and uncompleted roads. I am very much aware about the same. And I'm now at the stage where I ask myself, should I continue fearing putting in place revenue measures that sorts these roads, and 5 years down the line, all Kenyans say the minister was a failure, just because I feared to make a decision that was going to raise the money to do for them their roads?
Please,
I have to be bold at some point and do it.
Let me look at this.
We have to take a break. It's 24 minutes to 9. Your question starts right after this break. Okay? 24 minutes to 9. Kipchumba Murkomen, the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your
baba boy, gas imeisha, shopping imeisha, na ujue tokens bado.
Habari njema, mchezo mpya kushinda hela umewasili. Tazama Utuzwe ni mchezo rahisi na njia haraka ya kushinda hela ukitumia simu yako. Kuwa mmoja wa mamia ya washindi kila siku. Jishindie kuanzia shilingi 20,000. Ni rahisi. Deposit kuanzia shilingi 20 hadi 99 kwenye paybill number 145656. Account number KTN. Shinda sasa hivi. Draws na washindi kila hour. Kumbuka, deposit kuanzia 20 bob hadi 99 bob kwa paybill number 145656. Account number KTN. Na unaweza kujishindia hadi 1,300.
This week on What's Your Story, we feature Mr. Stephen Jonathan Mutuko.
8 years ago, you and your wife gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, Nathan.
Our expectation, we knew he will grow healthy, and he is a boy. We are so excited about it.
Yeah.
And at around 9 months to 10 months, we started noticing that the head circumference was not normal per se.
Okay.
They say this is a condition referred to as hydrocephalus.
Mutuko has been a widower for the past 2 years, having been married for 20 years.
I did cry.
Of course.
A lot. In fact, initially I used to walk with 2 handkerchiefs. It was so heavy on me.
As a single father, he courageously raises his special needs child, Prince Nathan.
Sometimes, by the way, you may look strong, but at times you just need a hug.
Distributed equally to every constituency, so that last financial year every constituency was getting about 62 million. 62 million distributed to a rural area to do maram roads and culverts and all that, and small bridges and so forth. Then many Kenyans, especially through the Road 10,000 project, demanded that every constituency has a tarmac.
I want to see tarmac.
Yes, exactly. So tarmacs were done, but with, as Eric asked earlier, without a plan for maintenance these ones. So the money for care still goes to go and deal with the rural maram roads, which network has also increased, without a corresponding resource that has been set aside for the tarmac roads. So in this financial year, that's why I said I wanted to do things differently. If you see the amendment I presented through the finance bill, we had set aside the 10% that goes to carer aside for maintaining them the tarmac roads, and we are committed to do so as an administration. And even though the finance bill was returned, we will still explore ways of safeguarding at least about 10% of the resources that are raised through road maintenance levy to salvage those roads that are.
Is this a question of the allocation of funds being inadequate, or should we include in the discussion the supervisory roles of the engineers and the quality of roads that are built?
There's a place for the quality, definitely. There's a place for the quality of the roads and so forth. But the biggest part of the problem is resources. The biggest part of the is the resources, because, as I said, the purchasing power of the shilling in 2016 compared to now, it has been devalued at a bigger rate, because at that point the dollar was about 190 something. Now it's about 130. Now you talk about
that's advantageous to us, is it not?
It's advantageous for export for imports, but it's not advantageous for exports and so forth and so forth. Then the other issue that is of main concern on these orphan roads is that it was not planned for, and no money was set aside specifically for these roads.
I'd like you to explain that. A road exists, it must have been planned for at some time.
It was not, the maintenance part was not planned. So the planning part, we did the construction. Yeah, you do now a road, as I gave you an example.
Yes, you did.
The road, let's even use the one for Ngong Suswa. You complete the road, it's under carer. It doesn't have any funding for maintenance. So it's after that, because the plans that were put in place by the technical people were not accompanied by corresponding budgeting in Parliament.
So you're saying we planned for something we couldn't afford?
Technically, we planned for the construction. We couldn't afford, of course, because the pending bill show that we can't afford. That's why on the development side we can't afford.
Which leads me to the
but in
question
the maintenance side, we can afford if we had made the difficult decisions. Part of that difficult decision is to increase the road maintenance levy fund.
Waziri, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It even makes sense.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, how do you plan to build a road and you know from time immemorial that the building of a road, whether it's a Maram road or not, that there's the element of maintenance? How does this happen?
It's a bizarre thing.
Yeah?
It's really crazy.
Well, because even the technical people in the ministry and the agencies say that. So they say we will need X to maintain that road.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then it goes to Parliament, and it's one of the things that are easily
chopped.
So, yes, and then you're telling me that we shouldn't overspeak about the incompetence of Parliament when it's staring at us in the face.
It is not it's not the competence of Parliament.
It's not only that.
It is the competing interest of the resources.
No.
Yeah.
Everything we're saying isn't appearing when this government came into being.
Yeah.
It has been there from time immemorial once again.
Yes.
So you cannot, well, you can say if you so wish, but it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we know how much money we have.
Yeah.
Engineering.
Yeah. Yes.
This is precision science.
Yes.
It isn't social science like what it is that I study.
Yes.
There are no ifs and buts on how you feel.
Yeah.
So you cannot then say that with all these trained people and all this understanding and the amounts we have, that a solution could not have been come up with for a road that would fit the money that we have and which we could maintain. How? I mean, and this seems what you're saying, that in the absence of this planning and budgeting, we then now have to increase the amount of taxes that we're levying on people. The problem isn't what you're saying. The problem goes back to you and the engineers who are supposed to do this thing, because it is their job to have understood this and ensured that what needs to be done is done.
I think our biggest problem is at the budgeting level, the budgeting and allocation level and priorities. We should be able as a country, notwithstanding coming in of new administration and so forth, to follow through programs until the end. Yeah, and we should not also swallow, chew, yeah? They say chew. We should not chew what we cannot swallow. Yeah, as a country, and that is that's why I'm moderating my expectation of the public, for them to appreciate that we need to now start living within our means. If you see the clarion call of this administration has been, can we live within our means? So that then we cut our cloth according to our size. So the moving forward, moving forward, the task I was given.
Did you ever sing in the choir when you were a student at some point?
A little bit.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Do you know what it means to sing out of tune?
Yes.
Right, that's what the government is doing. Because
yeah.
a clarion call for living within our means, when everything we are doing indicates we are not living within our means.
I am saying
Who
now,
should live by example.
It is us. That's what I'm saying. For now, as an administration, we should not. We have roads that people are telling us. People are telling me to the face. What is the new road? Including even in where I come from, in Elgeyo Marakwet. You are a minister. Which is a new road are you going to start for us? And I'm telling people, we cannot start a new road. We cannot create a new. Let's not go for new roads. Let's first complete the roads that exist. And some even people ask genuine questions. What about areas that were marginalized and were not given this type of roads by the previous administration? Are you going to tell us we have to wait for 5 years? And we have to tell them to the face, let's be patient, because it is this same problem that compounded the struggle we have in the road sector. And I promise you, let me say this, from where we are standing, we have been prudent to ensure that we don't start new roads. That is one. Number two, we have made the bold decision and we have done the public participation. It is now for me to crack my head and come back, hopefully in another 1 year, to this very show and show you from between now and the decision we made insofar as road maintenance levy is concerned, how many of these roads we salvaged that were already dilapidated.
Okay. So far, in the last budget, since you became minister, you spent about 50 billion shillings on roads, right?
Yes.
Now, this is where the other side of the question,
development, yes.
the other side of the question comes in on the possible corruption, because all this money is going to pay a contractor to get back on site, to do a bit of a road, not to completion, but to do a bit of a road.
Yeah, that's true.
And then another one is given another kind of money to do another bit of a road. Now, here is the issue with the public, that yes, a contractor comes back, spends 2 weeks, goes back away, and you don't know. Yet on records, I'm sure we will see this is part of where the 50 billion shillings has gone so far.
Yeah.
The issue of corruption cannot escape
Absolutely.
this kind of expenditure.
Yes.
Because there's 50 billion shillings that has been spent, and I would say a minimal number of roads that have been completed.
Yeah.
From those that you inherited to completion now. So how do you account for the money that has been spent so far?
I think the good question to ask is, since I came to office, how many kilometers of tarmac road have we done?
Not kilometers.
No, come back to that, because...
Not kilometers done, roads completed. Because the issue would be roads completed.
No, let me just come to
if
that.
If a contractor comes on site and they do an extra 5 kilometers of a 32-kilometer road, really?
Let me just say this. First, of the ongoing roads, I mean, the total number of kilometers of roads that we have completed, we've done, not completed, because a road is complete individually.
Yep.
But a total number of roads completed, constructed since I came to office, 1,000 kilometers.
Okay.
Some of that is not part of the other pending roads. Some of it is development partner, like the Mtwapa, Kilifi one, like Kwanjomvu, Mariakani, among others. Like the one that I told you we are doing from Isiolo, Modokashe, the distances we have committed is, if you combine that plus the pending roads,
they're donor funded.
Yeah, the donor funded, and the ones now that GOK funded, direct exchequer funded, including 33 kilometers that we did from Thika to Magumo, which is also GOK funded. All of them come to 1,000 kilometers. Now, why is it not possible to complete one road in the development?
Yes.
Because budgeting in Kenya is itemized. When the budget comes from Parliament, it has exact amount of money per road. Yeah?
Yes.
So of the 50 billion, one of the biggest challenges is that we don't have the discretion to say we have 50 billion, hold the other roads, finish this one in this constituency, finish in this constituency, finish. We don't have that discretion. So the road...
Why not?
Because the budget comes as A, B, C, D. Let me say as example, because there are many contracts. So budget A, road A, let's use the Rironi one. The Rironi, the incomplete... what do you call it?
It's called Westlands to Rironi.
No, not Westlands, but...
ABC Rironi.
ABC, the Westlands there. Let's say Westlands to Rironi.
Yep.
For that road, it's called Wayaki Way Rironi. So from the Wayaki Way to Rironi, Apo, you have about the pending bill, if I remember clearly, I hope I'm not wrong, is about 11 billion.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 billion, pending bill of 11 billion. The contractor, we recently, now of the budget, you come to the budget, we gave recently 1 billion in this period, these 2 years, 1 billion shillings. The contractor has only been able to go back, and this is, you negotiate with him, because ordinarily, you should pay him 11 before you decide. You're only paying him a small portion of his.
And the 11 billion is owed for the work done so
already
far.
done, and dualed the road up to Rironi.
When we are budgeting,
How
was
much
this
does he
understood?
need to pay for the work done and to complete what's not done?
He needs, if he gets this is 11 billion, he will now complete everything.
Without an extra bill to the
Without now extra, if you get 11 billion. Now we gave him the other day 1 billion. He had to go to Gitaru Junction there and the Kabete Junction there. And he is on site. You have to negotiate. Now I'm wondering, if you pay somebody 1 billion, a portion of his 11 billion shillings, to just go do part of the work, where is the corruption coming in here? Because now the question is, he's not even getting fast what he's already owed. You are not giving him a new contract.
Let me tell you where corruption comes in.
Yes,
And
yes.
then it will come, and I'm sure.
So I was completing by saying,
Yeah.
this one in the budget itself now, when Parliament is distributing the 50 billion,
Yes.
they will say Rironi Road, 1.5 billion. The road in Kisii, 500 million. The road in the one she was saying in Airport Road, for example, we put it 100 million. Like that. So when you now get the budget to the ministry, you can only pay a portion
of what you
of
have
all this, because
got an approval for.
Yeah.
But what Parliament is dealing with is what the ministry proposed.
Of course, the ministry proposes a complete payment.
The ministry takes.
But Parliament will say
the ministry
you only
takes,
get 50.
The ministry takes to the Parliament
Yeah.
A list of all projects.
Absolutely.
And a request.
A request for the amount required.
The amounts.
Yeah.
So it's possible for the ministry to actually take a smaller list.
You can't do that because Parliament also is a political office.
All right, yeah.
A political place.
Yeah.
So every representative from all over the country would like progress in their roads.
Look,
number two,
is it possible for the ministry to take a shorter list?
It is possible to do so.
Forget the political issues.
It is theoretically possible.
Forget the political issues. It's possible to do that.
Yes.
To decide as a government
that
we are going to do two roads finish.
Yeah.
Next year, 3 roads finished.
Yeah.
The other year, 10 roads finished.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It is possible.
Yes.
And then you can do the political conversations.
That is where it's impossible.
Of saying, this is why we are doing it.
It's impossible, Eric,
because of the politics.
In a republic of, like, not just politics, even citizens, to stand in Kenya. You know this conversation we are having here, we are technically alert. But to work in the country and tell Kenyans that the money for this year is only going to Muranga County.
Waziri.
My friend.
Waziri.
You will not have even a place to stand.
I am
and
sure,
then the other problem.
Everybody listening who has used that Wayaki way to Rironi, if they heard that, if they did not see the contractor next year, nothing will have changed.
Yes.
They're used to not seeing that contractor.
Yeah.
If they know that the contractor will come after 2 years, that's something to work to look towards. How does corruption come in?
Yes.
Corruption, and you know this very well, and because you've heard this very many times, comes in at the point of payment.
Yes.
The person who is taking your file for payment so that it's top of the list for this negotiation is asking for something.
Yeah.
And this is where now these corruption avenues are. That by the time somebody is sitting in the minister and the director's office, they have had to grease their way into that ministry so that they can get this small payment. And they get 1 billion shillings out of an 11 billion shillings. They go to Gitaru, now
they can do much, they can do one
much.
area.
Eric, can I add something to what you're saying?
Yes.
There are penalties and interest. Unless we're saying that when there are delayed payments, there are no penalties and interest. So you get to a point, if you're talking 11 billion and the penalties and interest, what do you think that amount is going to be?
It keeps rising.
You see, the question I wanted to ask is, everything that we're discussing here has to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
We have 10,000 kilometers of roads we want to build.
Yeah.
In this first year, we want to build these ones and we want to escalate. And budgeting is supposed to be in tandem with those processes. Is that not so?
That's true.
So at what point do we miss the boat so that we are now talking about a deficit of payment when everything had been planned for and everything had been foreseen?
Political mischief.
Yes.
And then now, here, let me tell you something. This is just roads. So, do you know it is now replicated in other sectors of pending bills across the country?
Oh, yes.
And that's why I'm saying that this is a bigger problem that we need to face. We are trying to make our contribution in a small way within the Roads Ministry. I have outlined the things we are trying to do, and I hope that we will make great progress.
It's not a small contribution. We don't have two roads ministries in the country. It's one.
So that's what I'm saying. We are trying to make our contribution towards resolving.
Don't try. If you see, if you've engaged the public.
Yes.
The public, if you were to have some rating like they do in other countries,
yes,
you know, the confidence rating in the Ministry of Roads and Transport, and then confidence rating in the Minister for Roads and Transport, both of them would be low.
Yeah, I agree. And it is directly proportional
and that
to the inability for us to do the roads.
That has to come with some responsibility.
We try our best, Eric, but please support us.
Can we
support us by paying the levy, so that we can do even the maintenance alone.
See, now this is the thing.
At least from a ministry perspective, we should be able to do something. If we are unable to get budget for moving the pending roads, you understand where I stand. You understand the corner where we have been put under ministry.
We can't run away from the historical perspective in terms of things that have actually
And
been
if I say
maintained.
today that this is a historical problem, we're told Murkomen blames Uhuru.
Who exactly?
But it's a fact.
Well, okay, let's look at
the
JKIA
statistics
because
is
our time
clear. It has
actually
none of this contract we awarded.
Murkomen,
Let's look very quickly
who
at
is a Jubilee,
the airport. Can we
who
look
was in
quickly?
Jubilee,
I have
blames
not,
Jubilee.
I have not rejected that
led
one.
by Uhuru.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's look really quickly at JKIA because our time is running out, and we spent 2 hours talking about roads. But this is one big ticket issue that clearly was a problem. It's still a pain point in terms of taking it to from where it is status to world class status.
Yeah.
The issues that we've seen, embarrassing pictures of leakages here and there, and a lot of finger pointing. What's happening?
You will just, if you give me 1 minute to say something about JKIA and another from the port, I'll be very happy. On the JKIA, we came in when there was fast, and we discussed it here. I told you that there is a dysfunctional governance structure at the JKIA, and almost everybody was acting. We have been able to fill in most of the senior positions in JKIA. In Kenya Airports Authority, it is now you had us recently advertise the position of the managing director, and hopefully then in 1 month we will have completed that process of reform. As a result of that reform, I'm very happy with the team that came in. They have done, for the first time now, we are almost completing a proper maintenance manual that is going to guide performance-based maintenance of our infrastructure, so that you don't need to do one-off contract. You will always have continuously improving the infrastructure and protecting the assets that you have. We had a problem with the roof. If you have gone to the airport now, we put a roof on top of the areas that were leaking, and hopefully we will do a small terminal around that area. We also have the issue of number of the airports, 12 airports that are stopped.